covering everything.
He had his work.
I'm talking that news you ain't heard of. Cause you
He's
know
like,
it's
what
getting
the fuck
buried.
is with all the lights and
Yeah,
all
the
this stuff?
you need to know about.
You, why do you have on a button-up shirt? You haven't had a button-up shirt on in 40 days.
But you can now, cause the people we covered.
She is actually staring
Oh,
at you right
good
now.
morning, everybody. This is Carrie here with Progressive Insider and Hair of the Dog. And good morning, Andy. We know you're watching because you just called to let us know that our audio check was live.
Not just the audio, the video was going too.
So, welcome to the official return. And I'd like to welcome our guest host in place of Andy. This is Chris Lucas. Good morning,
Hi,
Chris.
folks.
So he looks nothing like Andy, and of course nobody can replace Andy. So Andy, get well soon, and stop re-injuring yourself, because at some point we're gonna stop believing that it's an accident. So we'll go ahead and get started because we've missed. It's like
You had Munchausen's by himself.
Right. It's a cry for help. Poor Andy. So we have so much to talk about. Like every day is like a year now. And we've missed an entire week. So there's a ton of content to talk about. So where do you want to start? Did you want to go back to your conversation about porn and midgets, or do you want to move on?
Okay. You don't understand. They're midgets and porn, and they're very underutilized. But anyway, let's go beyond that, because I feel like what we really should be talking about is how how crazy everything is right now. I am someone who I would like to see myself as a Democrat, but the more I watch the Democrats, the more I feel like they're ineffective, and they're scared of everything. I mean, it's almost like being in a. It's almost like every time you go outside, there's this one bully, and he smacks you, and he takes your lunch money every day. And then just one day, you have the opportunity to have the upper hand, and you go, you know what? I'm not gonna take that upper hand. I'm gonna show this bully a better way. And then the next day, you get slapped and your money gets taken again. This is what I feel like the Democrats do.
Well, it doesn't help when so common sense, you don't start negotiating from a point of your last resort. You ask for more. So if I'm going to negotiate with you and my goal is $5,000, I'm going to start at 15.
Absolutely.
Right.
Start high.
They don't do that. They start with, all right, so we've already lost. How about we get to keep our shirts? Okay, no shirts.
Okay.
Right. So this is the big criticism that's come down. So we started all of this off 10 years ago, it feels like now, but it was back in March, where we decided that we were going to give public money to Wall Street and banks. We promised, we started off with a couple trillion with a T.
Wow.
And then promised them $1 trillion more per day, $1 trillion more per day, to make sure that they were okay.
Bananas.
Appropriate attire. So that's how we started all of this. And then we went, oh, wait. The little people who actually generate the wealth of the country might maybe need to eat. So we're going to give them some crumbs. Here's $1,200. And that was part of the, I think I'm losing count now, second or third. But not everybody got it. So what was really, I want to say cool because it's so evil.
Right.
If you are an American and you happen to be married to somebody who is naturalized or green card here legally, you didn't get the 1200s. So suddenly somebody decided that you were no longer a U.S. citizen worthy of life because you happen to be married to an immigrant.
Right.
Like, so
So you don't deserve it.
yeah, I don't understand. We're a nation of immigrants.
Which is crazy. I mean, like, it's not crazy that we're a nation of immigrants. What's crazy is that for some reason, somewhere along the line, these people with these complicated Eastern European last names, Irish last names, Hispanic last names, like we're all here. Like the only people who actually share everyone else's name are Black people because we were once owned by everybody. So but the facts being facts is that there is no one in this country other than the American Indian who was originally here. We're all a byproduct of someplace else.
Oh, Chris, you're forgetting manifest destiny, and it's the right of white people to come in and take and do. It's divine. You're forgetting that piece of it.
God, well, I am really I don't want to say I'm enjoying some of the meltdowns that I'm seeing right now, but a lot of this, like, I can't even. One thing that I have completely given up doing, and that is, and it's I hope no one takes this the wrong way, but I've given up even reading any news stories that involve white people having meltdowns on Black people just trying to do their jobs or just being out in public, just.
Trying to
someone actually hacked a friend of mine's page yesterday and sent me a link to justice for the two people who shot Ahmaud Arbery. Justice for them.
What? Why? Why did they take place? There's nothing in the law other than because they're white, and I'm not sure that is actually written somewhere still. But there's nothing that they could. You can't. The Trayvon case was, we have seen after the fact, Trayvon Martin, that whole self-defense thing was just utter bullshit. So these guys actually went and found him the same way, that what's his face did. I didn't want to mention his name. But they went with guns and he was unarmed. So I think this is what we're looking at. And it ties into, I was just watching the video from the sheriff in Michigan, the gentleman who said he is not going to enforce the governor's orders. And what was interesting to me is most of what he said was reasonable, but then he talked about discretion. Sheriff's office has discretion about what laws they're going to enforce. And I'm like, well, that sounds reasonable, but you've just given your justification for stop and frisk, for racial profiling, and for, arresting people who decide to shoot other people based on some arbitrary outward appearance. And this is the sheriff.
Yeah, it's actually getting to the point. And I don't want to rest on this subject because it causes a huge amount of mental stress in the Black community. I can tell you that much right now. Just even going outside, like you would like to think that you live your life just like everyone else does on that same sort of plane, like, okay, I can get up and I can go to the store, or like if I make up in my mind today, I want to go for a jog. I gotta think about I want to go for a run. I gotta think about all this secondary crap. Because what if this, what if that? And you know what? And I gotta be honest with you, I didn't grow up like that. Like I didn't have those same sort of fears. That is credit to my to Sharon, how my mother, those things, I was just like guarded from those things. I didn't know that sort of stuff even existed. And it's to have it as a constant reminder every day, every time I pick up my phone, go to Google, go to Facebook, go to Twitter. It's like crazy orange guy and a bunch of black people being killed by people who don't like the fact that they're delivering packages. How dare you deliver a package to my white neighbor in my neighborhood?
Right. Well, and then so we have the whole mask order, and you see people wearing bandanas or homemade stuff. Like they're waiting for the next stagecoach. But
Right.
from the context of being black going into a 7-Eleven now, right? So let's talk about that. If I go in as a white person with an assault weapon, like let's say an AR strapped over my shoulder.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
So I'm okay. But if you go into a 7-Eleven with the mask on because you're trying to be socially responsible or whatnot, now people are looking at you like, oh, this guy's going to rob us.
With that, how do you have a gun? A lot of times what I find completely hilarious. I never told you about the time, Carrie, I was going when I used to live right on the beach. I was walking one night, had a pair of flip-flops on, and I'll never forget this. I had a pair of Scotch plaid shorts on. Scotch plaid. You never see that. A pair of flip-flops. A T-shirt that said 80s baby on it. It was like, like the whole look was very specific and kind of unique. And this police cruiser pulled up to me and asked for my ID. I said, for what? He goes, well, we have someone matching your description, matching this description. what I'm wearing. There is no way you have anyone matching this description. I asked the police officer, he said that it came over. I said, you guys, is there any way I can see it?
Wait, what? Did you challenge an officer?
I asked him if I could see it. But this was actually this happened about like 10 years ago. Before they went slapstick with just killing black people for walking.
How dare you? So you were completely innocuous. That actually happened to my ex-husband, who will remain nameless. But he was at a local college, and he got stopped in the parking garage because a white woman decided that he fit the description of somebody that accosted her for something. I don't remember the whole story, but his shoes matched. So it was his tennis shoes, and when the officer pressed him a little bit, it came out that this gentleman was about the one who had accosted her was about 5'10", 5'11", and 170 pounds.
Oh no, that is couldn't be.
So,
yeah.
So to explain Chris's reaction, my ex is about 6'2", 6'3", 200.
A little bigger fella.
But the only common denominator they had was apparently these style of shoes and black skin. So
that is so crazy. Now, listen. Yesterday, I was driving, and I was listening to Howard Stern. I love him.
Yeah,
listen to him a lot. And he wanted to take some time out of his show yesterday to just greet and have conversations with Trumpers. He only wanted to talk to them. He wanted to understand how is it that they're able to coalesce on that sort of thinking, all together, how they're able to just agree with whatever batshit lunacy. Can I say? Can I?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Batshit crazy shit that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. They just want. He wanted to, just maybe there's something that maybe I don't get. Anyone who heard it yesterday knows that 5 minutes into it, he gave up. He couldn't do it. He's basically, he was like, these people are crazy. He started telling them why not only he, Howard Stern, hates them, but why he believes Donald Trump hates them as well. He actually invited them to do this. Show up at Mar-a-Lago for a vacation. Say you want to rent a room. You will not be welcome.
That's interesting because I remember the story of the young guy. I don't remember his age, but he was of Indian descent and he was a Trump supporter during the election. I mean, just loved him, like hero worship, fangirl, whole 9 yards. And he got his dad to take him to a rally, and they didn't last 5 minutes when the other people threw him out because of the way he looked and the color of his skin. And the comments later was, this poor kid was heartbroken, and he was crying because what he thought and what the reality was were two completely different things. So I kind of felt bad for him, but I'm like,
you feel bad for him, but then again, someone like me, I feel bad for that kid because his dream of being part of something was crushed. He found out the hard way that being Indian or being anyone of ethnic background in real time at a Trump rally is not going to go over well. Now, on television, cameras pointed and saying things like, blacks for Trump, Indians for Trump, Mexicans for Trump. That goes over well with them, and they like to see themselves in that way. Oh yeah, we are a welcoming party, but you send somebody who looks like me into a Trump rally, and I don't care. I could be wearing a T-shirt that says Trump, I love you, a hat that says Make America Great Again. Even if you got to kill everybody who looks like me, they'll still run me out of there. They don't want me in there. They don't want me in there. And guess what? Oh gosh, of all the things, I would rather eat a goose turd than go to a Trump rally. I would. Like anything, just anything, any horrible thing you can think of.
well, so then explain Diamond and Silk, right? They're making bank being advocates for Trump, being snarky, which I'm a fan of, but they're using all of that and have become celebrities in their own right. Two black women who support him, and now I haven't seen them lately. I don't know what they're doing.
Silk and Diamond,
Yeah.
those two wax wig wearing.
Well, let's be honest.
It's with the synthetic wigs they wear.
Yeah. Okay. So there's that, and I'm not gonna front on anybody with my COVID hair. So, but I think on some level we understand that they're playing a role, kind of like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. So they're making this caricature. However, there are still two black women who are heavily financed and supported and celebrated. So how do we get from these two individuals to the common person who might be a Trump supporter? Where's the disconnect there? Is it that
Right.
as a white person who has, some racial issues, I have a black friend, but that black friend better not date my daughter.
Right. That's the thing too. That's the thing too. It's so much a thing. And if you are someone who is if you're someone who's black who's grown up around white people, which I have, and I grew up around what I think were some really great people, but sometimes it will be one parent. It's never both of the parents, which was odd. I had a friend when I was younger. He dated a black girl, and the mother, and they were from England and lived in Irving Park here in Chicago, and the mother was fine with it. Mom was fine. She was such a sweet lady. but the father would get drunk and he would say something.
Some Archie Bunker
Really?
shit.
Right. And then he would look at me and go, "Oh, but not you. I like you." Like I'm in the house with him as he's berating his son for dating a black girl. And then he'd remember, "Oh, there's a black right there. I should probably clean this up a little bit.
Well,
You're fine. I
think,
like you."
I think that was less about you there. No offense. I think that was less about you, but more about him not wanting to be challenged to his face. Like, so there was a video that came out, I don't know, somewhere in Texas 2 days ago. A guy who was jogging, a black guy who was jogging, who encountered a neighbor who told him, "You can't run in our neighborhood." White guy, of course.
Right.
And when all of this went down, the jogger started filming, and he was going irate. I expected him to jump on the white guy, but he was like, "Say something now, say something now," and the white guy's walking away. So we saw this again with the barbecue Becky's and all of these things where we're totally okay saying what we want to say when we think it's safe. But if you will challenge us getting in our faces, now it's a whole different scenario. So,
Yeah. But here's the thing, though, and I want everybody to understand this. All of us, when we're in our houses alone with our spouse, everybody says crazy shit. We all do it. But here's the thing. Some of us have a lot of common sense, and some of us have a lot of friends who don't look like us. And even though sometimes people say ridiculous shit in their house, they don't carry it outside, and they don't leave it in their heart when they deal with people. And that is something true. I'll never forget. The first time I think I heard my mother say something I thought was a little strange was she saw Tom Selleck on television, a little kid. And she's watching Magnum PI, and she goes, "That is one fine white man." She made the distinction that he was a white guy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like she made the distinction right away that I wouldn't dare feel this way about like most white men, but Tom Selleck, ooh, child. Him and Tom Jones, they were a problem in my house growing up. My mother and my grandmother, Tom Selleck and Tom Jones, it was,
you were traumatized.
if they could have got their hands on either one of those men, I wouldn't look like this today.
No, Grandma, no, put him down. Leave him alone. Oh my God.
but do you see? And when I was in high school, I heard similar things when it came to Whitney Houston. I used to hear white guys say Whitney Houston, and I never thought Whitney Houston was a very attractive woman, honestly. And I would hear like white guys in high school say stuff like, "Whitney Houston, that's one good-looking black woman." Always the distinction. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. I have to stop you there and go back to our audio test earlier where we were talking about porn and midgets. So
yes,
we had a congressional candidate from Minnesota. Dang it, it's too early. I forget his name, but it's in our interview videos, and we were amazed because he had done something that is purely genius. So as progressives, you're not taking corporate money and selling out. So you have limited funds. How do you get your message out to voters who might not be tuned in and you can't go canvas? Well, he discovered that if you advertise on Pornhub, you are going to reach exponentially more for so much less. And these are not risque video. It's just his campaign video, right? So it's just, "Hey, I'm here. I'm representing the district in Minneapolis, and please vote for me," right? So what was amazing, the more we thought about it, is not only is the ROI on that advertising campaign off the chart, but he's right, because as much as everyone likes to say, "Oh, no, McDonald's isn't selling to just Jim Gaffigan," right? So Pornhub has this huge following, and they're building more servers, and they are making bank more than Netflix during the shutdown, and have multiple channels. So, this whole idea that we aren't using these services, or it's impolite to talk about, is
Right.
ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. So I think it kind of goes with this idea about that the Howard Sterns of the world and the radio. I mean, he's just out there with what he talks about, and it's so taboo. But then we're all somebody's paying these people, somebody's buying memberships, somebody's doing it, right? So
Well, I can tell you this is what happens with Pornhub, I'm forgiving Pornhub, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna tell you a little dirty secret. Okay. What they did was when the COVID-19 thing started, Pornhub started offering free memberships to anybody who wanted it. And they said, we're going to shelter in place together. We're all going to be, like, collectively, we're all just going to be sitting in front of our computers, you know. Anyway, so 2 weeks, they and they said we were going to shelter in place together. But like the advertising basically was, we're going to get through this together no matter how long it takes. All right, which is actually a great advertisement for Pornhub. if you think about what I just said. Anyway, so 2 weeks later, Pornhub sends me this message, basically letting me know that if I want to keep the good times rolling, now it's going to cost me $7.99 a month.
okay, so they basically did. They turned into the crack dealer. First one's free. First one's free. Next
First one's free. first little taste is free. But honestly, I think that the thing is, we are so we're closed-minded in public, but inside of ourselves, we're super open-minded. We let like the weirdest shit fly. Like I would never just go around telling people, oh yeah, if you search my search history, you're gonna find midget porn. I'm looking for it. I'm like, because I honestly I was curious to see if their body parts were the same as like normal size people. No, I don't want to say normal size, bigger people. I just want to make. I was curious, So I searched quite a lot of it. For anyone who's curious, they are basically the same down there as we are, which is really weird. You would think that everything would match.
I think we explored that through the Game of Thrones series, right? So
oh yeah. The what's his name? I can't. Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, right?
Yeah. So no, the overarching point in this is that the person that you are and you hide from others is a little bit different than the person you are in public. So social media kind of plays a space in the middle of that.
Exactly. I think that that's where the majority of us kind of live, in that sort of in between space. Like there's always the what we show people on the outside. It's a more heightened sense of who we would like to be seen as, and then on social media we can become even better than that. But in real life, just in our houses alone, we can be disgusting, and we can be honest about it inside the house. But we never take. But what I'm seeing with what I keep seeing on a daily basis on the internet is somewhere some of these lines are starting to merge, right? So you get these people who the stuff that they are saying on the internet, they're taking it out into the streets. They're taking it out into the public. Like, I don't want to have to wear a mask because I don't want to. That's not a good enough excuse. You can sell that on the internet. But when you go out in public, it's not about whether or not you want to wear a mask. It's about, do I care enough about my fellow person to not be in a confined space like a store and maybe I have a cough. And now I've coughed on you.
Right, exactly. So we're now into cognitive dissonance. So on the right, you have the argument about like Tesla. I was talking to a gentleman online who does not live in California, does not work at Tesla, but he was defending Elon Musk. challenging the shutdown and reopening. And his
Right.
argument was, well, more people die in car accidents and you don't worry about them. So to him, it was a reasonable argument. And the pushback is, well, if I get into a car accident tomorrow, 2 weeks from now, 40 other people aren't going to get sick or in a car accident themselves. So
Right.
two totally disparate things. But then on the other side, on the left, when we're talking about the death tolls on COVID and flu and all of these other things, and they're so outraged. But then you bring to them the point, well, 45,000 people die every year for lack of access to health care. And these people, most of them had insurance. You weren't outraged by that because you thought it didn't affect you. But
Right. That's what it comes down to.
yeah, and that's it. This illness doesn't care what you look like, what you make, who you are, who you voted for, what your theology is.
Right.
We're all affected. So we see now the almost a polar opposite, but it's actually a very similar reaction from right and left. You have a different argument depending on your political view, but the essence of it is the same.
Right.
So the overarching thing is we all suck. We don't care about each other.
Right. Right.
And
We
then
do. We suck. We are terrible. Like I really do believe that.
Mhm.
I really do believe that. Okay. Like like my stance on like how I feel about religion. But listen,
No, go ahead and say
I,
it.
re-
Tell
I've
them,
no-
Chris.
I really do think that maybe if there is a God up there and Jesus, maybe they're not coming back because they're like, maybe God made a mistake. Maybe he's like, I don't want to go back down there because they're a bunch of assholes. Like I had no idea that this is what they were going to degenerate into. You know what? Really, God could be like, fuck those people. Let them come to their natural end. And I'm going to start all over again, but I'm going to take the asshole gene out because, and believe me, would that not be, does that not seem like a sweet irony that we could find out at the end of our lives? Why did you never come back? Why did you let so many of us die? Why did you do this? Dude, you guys are a bunch of assholes. I let this happen. You never figured that into the equation while you were out being an asshole every day of your fucking 82 years you were on the planet. You know what I'm saying? This could be a real thing. And then in which case, I have a lot of explaining to do.
So this is why we get along, because I am a diehard rabid religious person.
And I love you. I think you're still great. It doesn't matter to me.
But you actually make a biblical case, right? So now we're going to get into religion in the context of people suck. That's the name of this show now. People suck. But my husband and I were just talking about it in the terms of Sodom and Gomorrah. Because everybody thinks that Sodom and Gomorrah was about sodomy because we go through the etymology of the word. It wasn't. It was about a lack of hospitality. And what, okay, if personal tragedy can be funny, what is funny to me about that whole story is God does say, all right, you people suck. I hate what you're doing here. I'm just going to destroy the city. And he picks out one guy, one family who is righteous meaning obedient to the word, not that he's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is the guy goes, okay. If I can find 100 righteous people here, will you spare the city? And God's like, yeah, okay. So then he's thinking about, okay, wait. If I can find 50 righteous people, will you spare the city? God's like, yeah, sure. For you, yeah. Okay, what if I can find just 20? Maybe just 20. Sure. And then he starts negotiating it down. Finally, even Lot's like, you're right. We suck. So,
yeah, I mean, you would just have to give up.
yeah.
I mean, at this point, whenever, and here's the thing, whenever I meet nice people, and sometimes you meet nice people, or they seem nice,
Mm.
in public. Uh, Honestly, I am not trusting anybody's nice unless I've known you for like 15 years now. Like I gotta know you. Like I gotta know you. You know what I'm saying? And so like, but sometimes when I'm out in public, I meet nice people and I feel like maybe they're just trying out nice, giving it a little test run for the day, seeing how that feels. Because tomorrow they'll probably be a dick. Sometimes I look back over my life sometimes, and I like to think of myself as a nice person, but then I go back over my life and I think, man, I made some real dick moves a few times, and sometimes they have been, just in relationships, imperfect strangers. That just means it's like,
Mm.
I don't care about you. I'm in line. I don't care if your wife is having a baby right now. I'm checking out. Or anything. It's not that it's ever been anything that extreme, but I'm just saying, there have been some real gestures on my part, on my humanity, and me thinking that I am. Oh, I'm a good guy. But when you start going back over your life in those moments where you're sitting by yourself, sometimes you're smoking a joint, sometimes you're just sitting on the bowl, or sometimes you're just scrolling through your phone and you see something that reminds you of what a dick you've been in your life, and sometimes it can heavily affect you. Because I've gone through that too, where I've thought about, wow, man, I could have been so much better, But now here's what I wonder about Trumpers and some of this behavior where people are out in public calling the police, and knowing that if you call the police and they come to the situation, somebody could get hurt. I don't want to go back to that, but do those people ever sit? You think they ever sit by themselves and go, wow, I could have been so much better in that situation. Why did I do that?
Well, I would hope so. I think everybody has the capacity for it, and it's interesting. And I keep hating. I know that I keep picking on the left, but to the point where I almost feel like people on the right, that's the remedial class now, and I don't have patience for it, and that's my feeling.
Mhm.
So, but the people on the left, we've seen it now under Joe Biden, the hypocrisy of it, right?
Right.
And we have all these famous people who came out under the Me Too. And we thought that they were good and moral people because they were
Right.
doing the right thing, the righteous thing. But now, when it is no longer politically convenient to hold that that moral ground, they are now making excuses. And we see
Right.
that at the common level, like us regular folks in our families, whatever, like you would always hear the stories about the child who goes to their parents and says, hey, something's wrong, somebody's touched me, something's whatever, and depending on who they've mentioned, either it's mom's boyfriend or it's a family friend or a kid of a family friend,
Right.
the parent's response could be, we don't talk about it, don't mention it, whatever, and just sweep it under the rug, or worse, it's your fault because it is not morally convenient to take the righteous stand. And then on this level, when it comes to politics, when you put out all the evidence that not just Reed, but her own witnesses, and dear God, her dead mother back from the grave on an audio recording, when you put all the evidence out there, it leads a reasonable person to think there's something to this.
Right.
Add in, that Joe Biden sent 2 of his staffers to the University of Delaware last year quietly to go through all the files. Why would they be going through those files last year quietly when he
Right.
so now he's saying, well, those records don't exist. Well, then why did you send them there? What was going on and what did they remove?
Right.
So the inconsistencies on his side and the side of his campaign, as opposed to everything that's come out with Tara, has led these people to say, no, she's lying, or forget what I said before about we believe her. In this case, it's politically expedient and convenient to ignore all of that.
Right.
So it's happening left and right. So this is a human condition. All right, Chris. So fix it. How do we get out of this?
You know, I don't think that we can get out of it because see, we're kind of stuck in a pattern right now. If there's anything you can envy about the GOP is they go hard for theirs. They show up with AR the AR-15s or whatever those things are called, those assault rifles. They walk into places and say, "You're gonna serve me whether or not I got a mask on or not, and if you don't like it, we can fight." They do that kind of stuff, and then they're backed by their people. Black man shows up, or anybody from I don't even want to put it down to race. Let's just put it down to Democrats. Period. They don't go hard for the people behind them. Democrats are doing everything that they do. They want to do it in the dark because in the light they want to look like, oh, look at you, look at what you've done. You made a mess of this. Well, what are you going to do to fix it? I'm just going to sit here and shake my head at you because you are. And instead of going hard, because if Democrats really could go hard, we're getting some of the talking points that I've heard over the past year infuriate me. Like Clinton, can't remember her first name. Why have I forgotten this woman's first name?
Are you talking about Hillary?
Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was on when she was on Howard Stern. I think I made it very clear that I listen to the show a lot. But Hillary Clinton was on Howard Stern, and Howard Stern asked her a question. How come you didn't go into full bitch mode on him? Like he was doing things to you on national television, like standing behind you, stalking you when you were talking, all that sort of stuff. How come you didn't say something like, hey man, back up off me. I'm trying to I'm talking to your turn is coming. How come you didn't do something like that? And you know what she said? She said she didn't want to be seen as a bitch.
Wow. Okay.
Now, but here's the thing. It's time for us not to care about this anymore. It's time for us not to care about this anymore because obviously they took the gloves off a long time ago.
Okay, but now our this entire conversation was talking about, in some sense, not just social justice, but behaving in a humane way towards each other. So are you saying that the rules are different now because the bar has been lowered?
Definitely. The rules are different now because the bar has been lowered. But we saw this coming a long time ago, right? We saw it coming a long time ago when Clinton was in office. Even though we were enjoying economic prosperity under Clinton, we did things to lame duck him. We did all kinds of stuff to put him in a situation where he couldn't really perform. We impeached him, right? Okay, now his presidency's over, and who do we have? George Bush, who actually, hindsight being 2020, man, a little bit of George Bush wouldn't be so bad right now.
Oh, wait, no, I cannot let that go. Wait. There are a million dead people who would disagree with the assessment.
You know what?
I
did say that with a bit of humor. I know this man was not a great president. Some really bad stuff happened on his watch, as it does with a lot of Republicans. Why do we keep electing these people? Every time a Republican gets into office, something really crazy happens. Reagan, AIDS, Bush, World Trade.
Okay, well now you've just gone.
This guy, he's gonna kill us all. He's gonna kill us all. He's like, World Trade Center, hold my beer. I'm gonna show you what I can do. Right?
Right. So causation and correlation, two entirely different things. But all right, so we have completely gone off the rails this morning from where we started. But it was a good test run for your first show. So we will have a little more structure, and we're going to bring back some of our guests. We've had some amazing guests, some really funny conversations, and some insightful stuff. So we're gonna bring all of that back in eager anticipation.
If I could ask you, Carrie, what happened? How long have you guys been on? Are we on a hiatus or something?
No. I don't want to go into private stuff, and I'll let him explain it. But Andy suffered an injury, and he's been on the mend, so he was not able to participate and do the show, and I didn't want to do it without him, but now I'm like, fuck that guy. So
no,
no, I'm kidding, Andy, I'm kidding. But so the show and the stuff that we do here, and some of the things that we talk about, really is a nice setup for the midday, late sleepers, to talk about some of the heavier, serious things that we cover on this network throughout the rest of the day, from Rome Bethia and his Rome's Rebellion to DLF and their topics, and then Don Ford does his critical report. So they're covering some really serious, heavy topics, and we just kind of touch on them here. We're Pornhub with your 2 weeks free, and then they hit you with the PayPal. So we thought it was important to at least start the conversation in a very fun, lighthearted, ridiculous, informal way in the morning. Right. So this is why you're joining us, because we have some actual really big, serious things coming up. So later this evening, we have another episode from Rome Bethia out of Detroit. His will be airing at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then he is actually working on something. I don't want to steal his thunder here, but he's working on a very big, very important event for next week, and he's working with Anthony Clark. So people in Chicago might know Anthony Clark. He ran for state rep in Congress, and he was challenging some pretty heavy players who've been in Congress for a while, a little bit more on the corporate Dem side. So, and Anthony himself is he's been phenomenal with starting charities and doing work in the community. So both Anthony and Rome have partnered to do something pretty important next week. So
I'm going to be following that.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow that.
Yeah. So
I'll just Google both of those guys, and
yeah, they're really, really great guys. So that's coming out, and then Don Ford did a couple different interviews that are going to be coming out this week, and then we had this panel discussion about what's next, and some phenomenal information coming from Nation Builder, which anybody who's run for office or worked for a campaign would know Nation Builder. If you're volunteering for the Democratic Party as a PC or whatever, you're familiar with Nation Builder. So that's Ms. Rockford and Vinay Orkandi from the National Progressive Party participated in a panel discussion, and so that's coming out too. So all of these things are pretty serious, pretty heavy topics that happen way after our show concludes, but all we do is kind of introduce these topics in a ridiculous fun way, and we're falling behind. So we decided to bring Chris Lucas back as a guest host to fill in for Andy. Andy, please get better. Stop injuring yourself, please.
like Big Van Dyke. He walks into the house, he trips over that damn ottoman.
Oh my God, that actually did happen. It wasn't an ottoman, but I'll let him tell the story. But yeah, he did that. So he was on the mend and then re-injured himself. So that's what happened to Andy, and we love him dearly and hope he gets well soon. With his, and here's the irony of it for me. Living in the United States where we don't have access to healthcare, and even if you do get insurance, is way expensive. So Andy had to wait this horrific time. It was like 2 hours to go get seen at a doctor without, an advance appointment. And then he needed an MRI, and he had to wait this unheard of, ungodly 2 days.
Wow.
It took me 6 months to get an MRI when I needed one here in the United States. So we always hear about, in Canada, there's incredible wait times. And you're right. He was almost able to finish reading one article
Before he was, oh my God. I'm down to my last 2 paragraphs. And I cannot believe I've waited this long.
Right. So I'm very happy that he's getting the care he needs, and all the tools are in place for him, and I just wish that we had that here. I mean, even God, what was it? I forget the country. I forget the shithole country, Trump, that has now got universal health care for their people. I want to say Senegal. I'll look it up, but
I think I've heard this story.
Yeah.
I think you might be right. I'm not sure, but I think you might be right. Because I thought it was so unusual that a country that's supposed to be so impoverished is able to come up with something like this. I did want to ask you something because I've been seeing this a lot. Your area where you live, Carrie, although in Illinois, am I right? It's in Illinois.
Yeah.
Of course you are. I've driven there. Okay. But you guys have really low COVID-19 cases. You guys don't have a lot.
Oh, it's funny you should mention that because we just spiked. So, so obviously you've got to do it proportional, right? We're not city of Chicago. So,
right.
So when you look at the county data, I think there are 800,000 people in the county, which is like 3 blocks of Chicago. But what happened is you saw the trend, and in April we went down. And then you had the May 3rd protests here. And now we're back up at a spike 2 weeks later. So what happened was we were sheltering in place because I live in a rural area. So you're not going to catch it from the pigs. You're not going to catch it from the cows, whatever. But when the Trumpers here got really upset and started to echo the reopening, save our economy, they were protesting in the public square in various locations. So now we're back up to 4,000 cases. I think.
So this is interesting to me because when the numbers are lower, or when they start to sort of level off a bit, and then people are like, you know what, let's get back to it right now, and they start protesting, and they go out and they protest, and then we see those numbers spike. Now what happens? It seems like our government is still pushing forward, even though they're seeing when they're having these conversations like, oh, people are going out there and they're fighting for this and that, and then you see these numbers spike, and the government is still pushing forward like the numbers didn't spike.
No, they don't care about the spike. So if you look at South Korea, who had eased their restrictions, they were doing phenomenally well. They were like the benchmark for everybody, and then they started to ease restrictions, and now they're spiking too. So what's going on in the United States, based on evidence and their own admission, is they're more worried about the economy than they are the death rate or the complications. So with COVID, and we've had Dr. Burdett on, and we're planning yet another AMA event with Dr. Burdett and others. Um, but there are lasting complications. So one gentleman that I was interviewing yesterday talked about he was asymptomatic, didn't know he had COVID until he had kidney failure. And it had given him this really nice gift of attacking his kidneys, and he was then diagnosed with COVID. So you have these lasting issues as well as the ancillary heart attack, stroke, aneurysms because it causes clotting issues. So all of these things go into it, but they're more worried about the economy, and part of that is because we opened the show with talking about the trillions that was given to Wall Street to bolster the money and savings for billionaires, millionaires, and those who kind of run the oligarchy. So we're protecting their money because if you remember, back in the Great Depression, you had people jumping out of windows because when all your wealth is in stock and then that stock drops to a value of zero, so does your own value.
Right. So do you think that right now that they are offering up sacrificial lambs? Because I read this article last night about he's a politician. I'm sorry, his name is not coming to me right now. But he is being he's being tried for insider trading now. You know, during that time where everything was starting to collapse and almost every politician was telling you to keep investing while they were yanking their money out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
Even though this is going across the board politically, especially with the GOP, a lot of them were involved in this, which is just basically they all did what Martha Stewart went to jail for.
Well, that's exactly right. And let's be fair, it wasn't just Republicans. We had Dianne Feinstein and a number of other Democrats do it too. They all got the same briefing. But you actually heard, and his name escapes me, the gentleman out of Texas, tell people that to be a patriot, you should be giving your life to reopen the economy. So it's the exact same rhetoric we used in World War II to denote patriotism as a willingness to give your life for your country, except it's not another enemy. It's to keep the economy going. So they're basically saying, and he said this outright, if you're an older American, you've lived your life, give your life now for your grandkids and go shopping at Walmart. So this is the level we're at now. And part of this is we've reached the end of life cycle of unregulated capitalism. Right. And so just real quick, let me get on my soapbox here. There's nothing wrong with capitalism so long as it is regulated. And the entire free market is created by regulation from the government. We are the government. There is no nebulous other thing. It's us. So what the free market is thrives on is protection from monopolies. And while those protections have been rolled back under the guise of free market, it's actually damaged the capitalist economy, because when you have that unregulated consolidation, you no longer have competition. So we see it in internet companies. We see it in, phone companies. This is why in Europe they get internet, phone, and a bunch of other things for like $35 a month, whereas we pay $100 and something for your phone.
Yeah.
Right. So because they have regulations in place that we no longer have. So what they're doing now is it's that whole notion that capitalism is a snake that will eat its own tail if left to its own devices. So you have these people on I'm not going to say the right, because it's right and left, who are trying to keep it unregulated so that they can earn their money at the expense of others. Whereas you have progressive policies saying, well, how about we save our economy by investing in the thing that actually creates the value, which is your people.
Right, exactly. Yeah, see, this is unfortunate that a lot more people are they really pigeonhole themselves. You know what I'm saying? they pigeonhole themselves in the fact that they choose to either be a Democrat or a Republican. That's a pigeonhole. That's where people get stuck. And sometimes, and this is just like that gray area that a lot of people talk about. There's that space in the middle, which is, and if you don't mind me referring to progressives as that space in the middle, that is saying stuff that's actually far beyond what the Democrats are saying. It's smarter, but the thing is, not enough people are willing to sit and understand it.
Well, we're trying to change that, and this is why we started the network. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. Progressive policy is fiscally responsible and socially sound. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You can save money and save lives, and it just makes sense. Why wouldn't you? Why would you waste lives to make less? It doesn't make any sense, and that's the policy that is going forward with the left and the right, and in my belief, the majority of this new HERO Act that's come out that the Democrats unveiled. They said that they were going to go with some huge Rooseveltian moves, but once again, the majority of it is for 501c6s like the Chamber of Commerce or sporting leagues, and not the people who create the wealth. So yeah, all of these things work together, and we are now at the top of the hour, so we're going to have to get out of here. But Chris and I will be back on Monday, and we'll go through in detail part of the HERO Act and what you can look forward to, what you can't, whether Rick Scott is going to hold it up in the Senate, whether Mitch McConnell is going to do right by people, or if he's what he's doing. So
I don't know. It's like Mitch McConnell reminds me of someone who is possessed. Like I think a full-fledged exorcism is called for. And I'm surprised at some of the things he's saying now. It's almost like he's been exercising. We don't know it. And when we come back, I would love to talk about this Candace Owens woman. I just like to. Yes. I'm surprised I completely forgot about her. She's not someone I think about normally, but I hear she's been saying some real crazy stuff. So.
All right, it's a date then. We will talk about the HERO Act and Candace Owens. Let's see if we can't get her on, right? So that would be entertaining as hell.
That would be entertaining.
Let's do it. All right, so for Chris and I, thank you, Chris. Took him out for a test run. He seemed to do okay, and he's willing to come back Monday. So yay! But for everyone else, stay tuned to other programs and interviews that are coming up today and throughout the weekend. We'll have a schedule posted on our Facebook and Twitter. I don't think we do it on YouTube. Check out our website. We have tons of interview and content there, as well as some explanation on the economics that we've been talking about here. And yeah, that's it. So enjoy your day. Happy Friday. And thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good day.
This is Progressive Insider.
But there's so much OnlyFans stuff on there. I would not.
Yeah. Progressive Insider, you know they wiser. Ooh, this that new media company covering everything. I'm talking that news you ain't heard of, cause you know it's getting buried. Social justice, yeah, the stuff you need to know about. Fucking